The following is produced by 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.
First and 10 from the 48. Jaron Allen back to pass. Looking for his running back, and he finds him. That's Anthony Jackson. Cuts across field. Nice stiff arm move down the sideline. Good block downfield, too. Pushed out of bounds at the Gardner-Webb 27.
It's the Howard Schnellenberger Show with FAU head football coach Howard Schnellenberger and your host, former Miami Dolphin Jimmy Cefalo.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm your host, Jimmy Cefalo. The Owls went down to defeat on Saturday afternoon in Boiling Spring, North Carolina, to Gardner-Webb. The final score, 35-19. Coach.
Jim, first of all, let me thank you very much for coming and do the show today. Boy, that voice of yours, I hope you're feeling better than you sound.
I'm feeling fine. It's a little scratchy. We'll get through the highlights, Coach. Let's talk about this football game. You had a long trip up to North Carolina. Your team played hard, but wasn't good enough to win the game.
Wasn't good enough to win, and again, like we've been snake bit with this lapse at the beginning of each of the games. In the past, it's been the offense, but here the defense in the first two series allowed 14 points, and that made it very difficult for us to stay on game plan for the offense, although we did. And you know, going into the third quarter, late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, we're still in the game and still have an opportunity to win. And I was proud of the team for staying in there, fighting the battle, and to be as competitive as they were as we wound down to the last part of the game.
And that's really what you take out of this for a young football team. You're playing some good clubs, and each time you do, you're staying in it, and you are competitive toward the end of the game.
Well, Jimmy, to be very honest with you, these clubs, some of these clubs we played last year weren't nearly as good as they are this year. But that's fine, because what we're doing is we're having an opportunity to play against better teams than we anticipated playing against. And that's going to make us a better football team in the years to come.
If you could pick one player out who you said, yeah, he took a step and played very well against Gardner-Webb, what player might it be?
Darius, our tight end, who was pressed into a starting role when Christinger broke his collarbone in practice on Thursday. And he didn't know he was going to start. He made 2 big catches, a touchdown, and really demonstrated his blocking ability. Yeah,
Darius did look good and made some tough catches, too, for a tight end. That's the first thing you look for.
Well, you know, he wasn't much of a football player in high school, great basketball player, and but he's big and strong and willing and does have the ability to run and catch, but now we see that he can block as well.
All right, let's go to Boiling Spring, North Carolina, take a look at the first half highlights between FAU and Gardner-Webb. Early first quarter action at Gardner-Webb with football. Jeremy Martin, a quarterback, options left and makes a move and goes downfield, Coach, for a nice pickup of 22 yards down the year.
Well, that actually was an option play, but it didn't look like an option play because our end didn't force the pitch.
Same drive, Martin again goes to the left side for a touchdown, 7-0. Gardner-Webb over FAU in the early going. Martin, a good quarterback, also has a good running back. That's Derek Middleton, who finds a hole up the middle. Goes 30 yards through the secondary and gets him to the end zone. Touchdown, 14-0. Gardner-Webb on top.
14-0, and we really haven't challenged them. Those were all things that they just executed. Didn't challenge the thing.
But your defense starts to play well here. Guerriere and Matakabir sacked Martin for a 7-yard loss, and that forced Gardner-Webb's first punt of the afternoon.
The rest of the first half, we played extremely well on it defense.
Your offense started to get going. Jan hands off to Colin James, 21 yards. Some nice moves, Coach, too.
Well, this is a real great run by Colin, and if we can get more of those, then obviously we'll be a better football team.
Down to the 15. Jan with a chance on 3rd and 16 from the Gardner-Webb 16-yard line, and that's the catch you're talking about. Touchdown for Darius.
And boy, did he sky to get that. And he's about 6'5" and weighs about 210 pounds, and he's a player of the future.
You mentioned that he was a basketball player, Coach, in high school, and you can see the ability here going up and taking the ball away from a defender. It also looks like he might have been hit a little early. He might have had an interference call on this play.
Yes, and I think he had the second catch it as well. Yeah, there he caught it the second time after the hit came, so that's good eye-hand coordination.
And you had the fans from FAU there on the sideline. You had a nice following there in Bowling Spring, North Carolina. Excited about it, 14-7 Gardner-Webb. Your defense starting to play well here, too. Ramon Rickards gets to Martin, and the ball gets coughed up, and you get a fumble recovery.
Well, we haven't had near enough of those this year, but if we can continue to get the turnovers, that'll help us a great deal for down the line.
Gardner-Webb had a chance late in the second quarter, 24-yard field goal attempt, and the kick is down, it's up, and it is good. As you head to the sideline at halftime, the score, Gardner-Webb 17 and FAU 7. Coach, you're still in the ball game at halftime, and you had to be feeling good about the way your defense started to get after Jeremy Martin.
Well, I was, and anyway, giving them those first 14 points without really contesting it, and then having the strength and heart to go ahead and fight the battle, did play well through the balance of the first half. The offense got their one score, so as you point out, it was a winnable game at halftime.
And you seem to throw the ball effectively against Gardner-Webb.
Better than we've thrown in the last several games, and I was pleased that Jan got in there and made some good plays, and he certainly has come a long way since the opening ball game.
You used both quarterbacks, Allen and Jan, both played.
Well, we did, and we did the normal change where we bring Jan in the second quarter, and then, as you'll see in the highlights in the second half, we went to him more.
Yeah, good ball game at halftime. Again, the score is 17-7. We'll come back with more on the Howard Schnellenberger Show. Take a look at the second half highlights between Gardner-Webb and FAU right after this.
The Howard Schnellenberger Show is brought to you by Applied Card Systems, an industry leader right here in Boca Raton. Fidelity Federal Bank and Trust, here today, here to stay. Boca Raton Community Hospital, we're with you every step. And 5 Star Productions, South Florida's #1 film, television, and radio production company, exceeding all expectations.
Welcome back to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm Jimmy Cefalo. The score at halftime, it was Gardner-Webb 17 and the FAU Owls 7. Let's take a look at the second half highlights. Once again, it was a big play offense for Gardner-Webb that hurt the Owls. Jeremy Martin scrambles, looking for his wide receiver, William Andrews, at the 25-yard line. He makes a move, coach, and goes 86 yards for the touchdown.
Well, this is the thing that killed you, and there's no excuse for it. A little short pass like that, and taking it and running through the whole defense. Obviously, we didn't have the pursuit in the right angles.
Gardner-Webb went for a 2-point conversion and got it. It was 25-7 Gardner-Webb at that point. Martin, this time looking for another wide receiver, Will Buchanan. And nice catch, coach, and he's gone too.
Well, once again, 2 back-to-back plays that knocked the game wide open. And again, the whole defense had a chance to make the play, and nobody did.
An 84-yard pass play that was down to the 11-yard line. And that set up this 3rd and 5 from the 6. And Martin runs in for the touchdown 6 yards away, 32-7. Gardner-Webb with the lead.
It looked like we've never played the option before. At the end, on 2 occasions now, didn't force anything to the tight end.
Jared Allen now in at quarterback, looking for his tight end, Denson Darius, at the Gardner-Webb 8-yard line, a 36-yard completion. Coach, he looked good on the afternoon.
Well, he out-rebounded that safety man, came down with the ball, and we can't make a living with trying to throw it higher than they can, but that certainly gives us an advantage. 4th
and goal from the 8, you decide to go for it. Allen under pressure. Throws the ball up, trying to make a play on 4th down, and it is incomplete. You lose an opportunity to score there.
Well, we had 2 4th downs that we didn't make, and that, of course, doesn't bode well for scoring.
But Allen not deterred because of that play. Back to pass. Looking for a young man who had a nice afternoon for you, Anthony Jackson. Takes the ball to 40 and makes a nice move, coach, and picks up 25 yards on the play.
This is the slow screen to the tailback out to the right side, and for the first time, really, we executed correctly, and really good to see Anthony get a good run. He's done well in the kicking game, but here he had a nice play from scrimmage.
And he finished off the drive, too, at the 1-yard line. Allen gives the ball up to Jackson, who goes over the left side, following the block of his fullback to Colin James, touchdown. He went for 2, didn't get it. The score was 32-13, Gardner-Webb. The Owls scored again in that 3rd quarter. Garrett Jan back to pass, looking for Thomas Parker, his wide receiver. 33 yards later, touchdown Owls. A two-point conversion made the attempt, didn't go, and the final score after a field goal by Gardner-Webb, 35-19.
That was good to see Parker get 6 catches in this game and really become a productive receiver.
So overall, Coach, you got to think that your offense played well with the passing game, and your defense need to try and stop those big plays, and you got something going.
Well, it's a tale of two cities there. Not challenging them on several things, but then in a lot of the things play very, very well, and that's, of course, what we have to correct. Make sure we can play every down strong.
All right, right now it's time on the Howard Schnellenberger Show for our play of the game. This was FAU's first touchdown of the afternoon. Garrett Jan hits Denson Darius over the middle for the touchdown. And a nice, tough catch by your tight end.
A nice catch and a really nice touch. You have to have good touch to get the tight end down the middle of the field against the too deep, as you remember, Jim.
Yeah. So a good play by both your quarterback and your tight end, and that's what made the play.
Well, we talked about it before the game. We knew that Denson could get up in the air real high. So it was just 70 Y-ash. He went up in the middle, and there's a couple guys on him, but I just threw it where I knew only he could get it.
A touchdown by Darius from Garrett Jan is our play of the game. Coach, each and every week here on the Howard Schnellenberger Show, we profile a player from the inaugural recruiting class for the FAU Owls. This week it's going to be Anthony Jackson. And, Coach, he's an exciting football player.
Well, he is an exciting football player with a great deal of potential and one that will be better and better in the next 3 years while he's playing here. I'm glad that we finally got to Anthony because he's been an integral part of this football team, not only for this year, but for the year we had when we were practicing every day and not playing. He hadn't even really scratched the surface on the type of player he can be, and we look forward to that day when we can get him full-time in the backfield.
He had 139 yards on special teams on Saturday against Gardner-Webb. It's the third time this year he's gone over 100 yards.
Yes, quite a promising young man.
Yeah, a big play potential. Every time he touches the football, you get the idea that Anthony Jackson can break it. So here's a look at the young man from Delray Beach.
Going out there, making a big play, scoring a touchdown, and just feeling the energy and the excitement from the crowd. I just love the game, just to go out there and play, to suit up every weekend. The defining moment in my life when I figured I was going to be a football player was going to the park and watching the Little League kids play, and I just knew then I wanted to play. The reason I chose my position was because I was always fast. Figured I'd get the ball and run with it, and you get a lot of glory playing that position. I picked FAU because I wanted to be the first in the school history to, say, get 100 yards rushing. My strongest asset I can bring to the team is my speed and my leadership. My ultimate football goal is to win the Heisman Trophy and make it to the NFL. The bottom line as far as playing football is just go out there and win and be a part of a winning program.
Welcome back to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm your host, Jimmy Cefalo. The Owls are now 3-5 on this season. 2 football games left, plenty of tickets for the remaining games with Pro Player. Let's take a look back at the Gardner-Webb game and go inside the numbers. Even though statistically Gardner-Webb controlled the football game, you were right in it to the end. What do you take out of that?
Well, obviously, stats don't win football games. Scores win football games, and even though we were badly outstatted, we were in the football game late in the game, and that's not it's not something we can live with, but it's something certainly that helped in this situation.
Yeah, time of possession, you were right there with Gardner-Webb, 31 to 28 minutes, and so you were able to take your shots at the football by controlling it in a sense.
Well, I was very pleased with the way we threw the ball. That got us two scores and led up to another score. So that was very successful.
And that's what leads us to our stat of the week, the passing game. FAU had 219 yards through the air, including a couple of touchdowns. And Jimmy, your two quarterbacks seemed to play well.
Well, they both did play well in the passing game, and you're going to see more of each of these quarterbacks. Allen has been the starter, and Jan has been the second unit guy, but that just might change here this week.
Allen took a big hit there and still delivered the football. Jan is a taller quarterback. Allen seems to be more mobile. Is that
more mobile, and he had picked up the offense a little bit quicker. But Jared Jan just might give us a spark. He can stand in there like a Kosar, see over the top of the defensive lineman's head and throw the ball reasonably well.
There you see Jan going downfield, throwing the long ball well. Both were highly recruited, one from Oklahoma, the other from Florida, and you got them both.
Well, I feel real good about these two young guys as the quarterbacks of the future, and the thing that we want to do is bring both of them along so that when we have our team at full strength, that we'll be able to do the things from a passing standpoint that I believe in.
Well, when a Schnellenberger coached offense has two good quarterbacks, good things happen. They always have in the past, they will in the future. We'll come back right after this on the Howard Schnellenberger Show. Take a look at the upcoming game against Eastern Illinois and also have our question of the week for the coach. That's straight ahead on the Howard Schnellenberger Show.
The Howard Schnellenberger Show has been brought to you by Applied Card Systems, an industry leader right here in Boca Raton. Fidelity Federal Bank and Trust, here today, here to stay. Boca Raton Community Hospital, we're with you every step. And 5 Star Productions, South Florida's #1 film, television, and radio production company, exceeding all expectations.
Welcome back to the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm your host, Jimmy Cefalo. Coach, each and every week we have an opportunity to get to the fans where they ask a question of you. Here's our question of the week. This week's question comes from an FAU grad, Karen Collins from Delray Beach, and she asks, Coach, can you talk to us about the play of your special teams?
Well, overall, Jimmy, I've been really pleased with the play of the special teams, particularly on the kickoff return and our punting. Anthony Jackson has certainly been a great return guy for us, and those young third stringers that are on the teams have done a great job of blocking for him and giving him a place to run.
Anthony Jackson, as I said earlier, looks like he can break one in each and every time he touches the football. All right, let's look towards this coming week's game at Pro Player, 4 o'clock Saturday afternoon against Eastern Illinois. What kind of football team is that?
Well, as you would know, this is the best football team we will have played during the course of this season. They're ranked in the top 6 in Division I AA football. And they're an extremely fine coach and a group of senior athletes. They use a wide open attack on offense and multifaceted defenses, and they're really good. So this is a great opportunity for us to have a chance to come out and upset somebody of this quality.
And being at home with your young football team, you mentioned earlier that both Jan and Allen are going to see some playing time. How will you determine how you work that rotation into the game?
Well, I'm thinking right now, Jim, that we'll probably open up with Garrett Jan and have Jared Allen be in that second role.
Does Eastern Illinois play a type of defense that your quarterbacks have seen before?
If we can give them protection, I think we can throw against anybody. And our biggest problem has been adequate protection, with the fact that we only have one lineman that has been the regular for all these games that we've played. So yes, if we can give them protection, they can be very, very accurate and very competent.
Let's talk a little about your offensive line. You have had injuries. You've moved some people around different spots. How much is that playing with your running game, for example?
Well, it's very difficult when you have a group of redshirt freshmen as starters and then lose 3 of them during the course of these first 7 games. Now we have pure freshmen that are in these situations, and obviously they're getting their baptism of fire in the games rather than in the scrimmage games that we should have had for them before.
All right, it'll be Eastern Illinois, 4 o'clock, Pro Player Stadium. 2 orders of business before we say goodbye. One, if you've got a question for the coach, it's simple. Email us at askcoach@vstar.com. And number 2, Coach, for folks who follow the program, Terrion Osborne was injured on Saturday at Gardner-Webb. He was taken from the field on a stretcher, taken to a local hospital. Tell us about the injury and how is he?
Well, it's had a great ending. Terrion was checked out at the hospital, released Saturday night, spent the night up there, and then came back with our trainers on Sunday and was in a meeting with the team at 4 o'clock. So very, very tragic situation. Turned out to be nothing more than an extremely deep bruise.
Well, that is good news. That'll do it for this edition of the Howard Schnellenberger Show. I'm Jimmy Cefalo. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you again next week.
Coach Schnellenberger's attire is provided by Moss & Hoffman, located at 400 East Palmetto Park Road in Boca Raton.
This has been a presentation of 5 Star Productions USA, which is solely responsible for its editorial content.